Hi, I'm Shauna Lampi-Legaree, and here we are in Sydney, Australia, and it has been so beautiful. We're on to week 3 now of our vacation, and we're having a fabulous time. I am starting a sketchbook. I have a confession. I buy sketchbooks. I don't use them very often. There'll be more about that in the video. But today's video is the intention for the sketchbook, and I will be painting this during the video and talking about what's been happening here in Australia. As I confessed in the intro, I haven't done a lot of sketching as a daily practice or even a slightly regular practice. Now I do seem to love the idea of sketching regularly in sketchbooks because I always seem to be buying new sketchbooks. I start with such great intentions, but I do a few sessions and then seem to get derailed as I tend to dive deep into the next painting project. It's actually quite tough to add a new practice into one's already really busy life. But when I was coming to Australia, I was looking for a way to keep on painting. I had new sketchbooks at home, surprise, surprise. So I brought them with me, as well as gouache paint. I came here with the idea that I would do 1 or 2 larger paintings of Australian birds that would be sort of 40 by 50 centimeters or 16 by 20 inches in size. But I soon discovered that with touring that we're doing and spending time with our son, which is the reason that we're here, I needed to take a look at my unrealistic expectations and modify them. I have thought about the time that is actually available to me each week, with Alexander working from Monday to Thursdays. And with that in mind, it seemed to me that it's far more practical to create smaller paintings in the sketchbook. It's actually nice to have a convenient place to work in. I'm excited about doing a bunch of different paintings from my birding adventures here. I often take a lot of reference images of a wide range of birds that I never get to paint from. Mostly because I'm painting for sales and I'm painting what I think people might want to buy, as well as what's interesting for me. But working in a painting sketchbook, I can do birds that I generally wouldn't paint in a larger format. This sketchbook has 27 spreads, which simply means that when a sketchbook is opened up fully to the 2 pages that you see, that's what we call a spread. Now the goal is to see and photograph as many different species of birds as I can. I want to have far more than the 27 different birds to choose from for the 27 different spreads. I've been here for just about 3 weeks, and I've already captured images from 27 different types of birds. And I'm still waiting to see parrots, galahs, cockatoos, and rosellas, all of which are very colorful and totally cool birds. Wish me luck on my hunt for those amazing birds. Oh, you might be noticing that my letters are not very accurate at this point in the painting. They seem to be getting a little larger as I go along. I asked my son if he had a ruler, and he didn't have a ruler in the house, which means I was kind of winging it in a way that I normally wouldn't. I did try to measure with another instrument, but it didn't work very well. Oh well, it's just a sketchbook. This is my intention page that I'm working on. What is the intention of this sketchbook? What is the goal that I'm working towards in this sketchbook? And that is doing lots of different birds from Australia. We weren't even in town a week when I went to a birding NSW, New South Wales, meeting. And I was able to then join a group from that organization for a birding day at the Royal National Park. And I want to thank Elizabeth for picking me up and driving me back. And it was a great day. Though the birds were not great, the people were fabulous. It had rained heavily the night before and was very windy. So the birds were rather quiet. The other adventure I had was going to Sydney's Centennial Park with an avid birder named Steve. It was a hot, sunny day, and I was able to get great photos actually from both the trips. Here I'm putting the date on my intention title page. I'm adding in a little bit of shadowing on the letters to give them some dimension. February is the start of the sketchbook, and when I fill the book completely, then I'll put the other month in before the end of 2023. I am really excited about some of the reference images that I have been able to get. Luckily, I have even seen birds that are new to me. You know, when I was here in 2018, I went on a couple of birding adventures, one in Melbourne and one in Port Douglas, where I saw an amazing range of birds and was able to photograph them. Not always very well, because birds tend to be flitty and tend to move on. It's actually quite exciting when I'm seeing birds I haven't seen before. I did draw everything out that I wanted on this intention page. My goal was to create an image that reflects this trip to Australia. I'm working in a new medium, gouache. I've been working in it for a little bit now. I have worked in watercolor for years, and though both mediums are activated with water and used with water, that is where the comparison of the both mediums ends. Gouache is opaque, and the first thing I'm discovering is it dries way darker than what it looks like when I mixed it on the palette. I think it's light enough, I put it on, it darkens down. Interesting. I will figure this out by the end of this sketchbook, and I will have a really much better understanding of gouache as a result. The reason I chose gouache is because I am in my son's dining room, and it's not a very big place. And I don't have to worry about if it falls on the floor. I can clean it up. I just add water and it cleans up easily. Just days after arriving in Australia, the three of us went off to Wollongong for a day trip. And when we were there, we stopped at a winery to do some testing of a range of wines from this winery. When we were sitting there, I noticed the rainbow lorikeet had landed on the wires holding up the grapevines. The winery actually has to completely cover its grapes when they get close to ripening, or the rainbow lorikeets come in and decimate the crop. So as I'm photographing the back of the bird with the tail towards me, the bird reaches down with its beak, grabs the wire below, then moves its feet down to it. I mean, a little bird would have just hopped to the next wire, but not a lorikeet, obviously. It made me laugh. It was quite funny. So with that reference, I thought, what am I going to do with it? And it just seemed like the perfect fit for the great Australian bird adventure intention page at the start of my sketchbook. Well, so far I have some fabulous photos of kookaburras. It would not be a birding adventure without a kookaburra showing up. They are all over the place. I've got fairy wrens, swamp hens, yellow-tailed black cockatoos, which are fairly rare, noisy miners. And then the neighbor upstairs came and said, "Come, come." And I grabbed my camera, and there was a white-faced heron that was hunting skink lizards right in my son's yard and right next to it, because he looks over a ravine. It was so amazing. I got fabulous photos. I can't wait to share that with you when I get there. As I started to work on the tail of the rainbow lorikeet, I kept thinking, I don't have the colors right. It seemed to be fighting me, so I decided to take a break and to continue on later. The sun was shining outside, and it is February and so deliciously warm out here. I went outside into the glorious heat with my camera right next to me, just in case a bird comes along. It wasn't long before there was squawking above me in a very tall tree next to my son's place in the ravine. As I trained my camera on it, I realized it was two rainbow lorikeets goofing off, being argumentative. One had the other's foot in its beak, and if it wanted to remove that foot, it could do that. Their beaks are very strong, and they were both hanging upside down. It was quite comical to watch. When I downloaded the photos, I discovered that the underneath of the rainbow lorikeet's tail is yellow. I hadn't gotten a photo from underneath a rainbow lorikeet, so I didn't know that. I thought it was the same green that was on the back of the tail feathers. One side is green and the other side is yellow. This meant that I actually was using the completely wrong colors to mix the color I was seeing. And with that discovery, I realized I needed to go to a low chroma yellow mixture. Easy peasy. I pulled out the raw umber to go with the cadmium yellow light, and I then mixed a neutralized gray in several values. And from there, it was easy to correct color for the underside of the tail. I thought it would be fun to put some bubbles drifting across the spread. A few days ago, I went out for an evening walk with the guys when I discovered rainbow lorikeets on a lime tree. I would have stayed there until the birds left, but I did think that everyone was being ultra patient with me as I stood there for probably 25 minutes, 30 minutes photographing them. So I thought it was best not to push it too far. If you have been following me for any period of time, you know that I like to work rather large. You can check out Facebook or Instagram to see images of paintings that I have done recently. They're linked below. Working small is really a huge challenge for me. So I'm working in a new medium. I'm working really small. I need to figure out which brushes work best and how to manage them as well. That will come just with practice, and I'm going to get 27 spreads worth of practice. I feel like I got a great start on my great Australian bird adventure. And here is the intention page completed. I hope you will continue to join me as I explore some of the amazing birds in Australia. Let the great Australian bird adventure begin. See you in the next art video.